Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Ansar Gilani, English commentator at the entire sports, instructor at Interculture Studies, Social Sciences, English Literature and International Relations. I am to visit different segments of the society and I am to take interviews of the topmost personalities present across the board. They could be from education, they could be from sports, they could be from tourist department, they could be tourists coming across the board. And I am to get them interviewed so that the knowledge and their experiences should be shared so that people could get a better knowledge of the personalities that are coming at the forum. Here I am having one of my closest friend, Muhammad Arif. I am to get him interviewed so that his experiences and observation and his certification uh, could be shared here, and you can call him directly if you want to get his services, because he is not only a teacher, he is an instructor, he is a trainer, he is a mentor and educator, and over the years experience he is enjoying. First of all, I will get some glimpse of his early schooling and grooming. Yes, Arif.
Thank you very much, and viewers, very good morning, and thank you very much, Mr. Gilani, for such an introduction. So, this is Mr. Arif, and let me give you a glimpse of my, my life and early education as well. My full name is Mohammed Arif. Actually, I was born in a Fatah in a Khyber Regency. Of course, it's a very backward area. There is no proper education, but overall, I moved along, and this is somehow, there was a feedback, there was impetus forces behind me, and that was my father. He really helped me, to get education. So, how did I spend my childhood? Of course, I spent my childhood in my village, it's Khyber Regency, so almost playing outside with other kids, no proper facilities, no playground as well, no proper education, not to, I always say this thing that if you want to go ahead, so it's better you need to have two things in your life. The first thing you need is like education, but along with education, the most important thing is here you need to have proper schooling as well. If one is lacking and in these two, so remember, so there is no proper grooming ahead, and you will not have a radiant, you will not have a refulgent future ahead, remember. So actually I got my early education in one of the famous schools in Khyber Regency, in Bara Khyber Regency, Alam Gudar school, which was very famous. Still I remember the days I spent along with my friends, especially I always keep my teachers in my prayers, the way they help us in order to reach this destination. It's somehow a beggar description. I cannot, explain this thing in my words. But what we can have and what we can do, for our teacher is just to return them, the same reward in our precious prayers, So thank you very much for, for having all the efforts, especially my special teachers. So after getting education, I moved to Peshawar, so the government college. Though, being novice and not well expert, if someone comes from, from a village and from a small hamlet, so he's unaware about all the doings in the city, and sometimes you will have to develop your etiquette with your friends and all to make them good friends as well. So by the way, in government college, that was a very rich experience, especially, my field is English, so I would like to appreciate my teachers. They really helped me, in first year, second year, and even third and fourth year. So we learned lots of things from our teachers, and after getting graduation, what I moved towards my master degree, how I did get, I got
Yeah,
my.
before you can say move to post graduation, and you're doing of MA English and the world of literature.
Yep.
First, I would like to ask the mentors and the teachers. Somewhat, would you like to share about your class fellows, if you could name them, the highest mark of the teachers, their skill and their you can say strategizing how to build up the students.
Yeah, if we talk about a schooling level, like so, especially in school, like we have still a very conservative way of teaching,
Right.
like we memorize the things, and sometimes, like, and the teacher is the one who normally, he grades the marks, and then he
Right.
announces, the thing. So what about in college level? Like, of course, it's a bit higher stage as compared to our, like
Early
metric and
schooling.
yeah, early schooling as well. So in college, actually, we learn lots of things, like I would mention lots of our English teachers, and especially, I have my close, like affinity with my teacher. He has, like he had his master degree in theology, like informing us and giving some, like lecture about Islamic education as well. So all of the teachers, I would say, like they are such a great, like people, so not only the English literature teacher, but all of them, if they are from the Pakistani, if they are from Islamic theology,
So
from
this is
political
your
science,
all
and
early academic, you can say, grooming.
yeah.
Would you like to bit brief about the FATA, the tradition and the convention, and at what do you rate FATA at education? The modern one and the traditional one, and how the clash is meted out and how the barriers are broken.
It's a very good question, like if you talk about the educational level, if we talk about the cultural barriers, the impediments, so of course there are lots of impediments, there are lots
Right.
of barriers, like even if you talk about in the field of education, so still, like the people who are living in Fata, and they are very, they are very far away, like they don't have the facilities, although we are living in a modern age right now. Most of the students from me, they have access to the fastest, internet services as well. They have different gadgets, so they can just access to more education as well. But still living in a far flung, in a Bondoc area, and Fata, like so still they are bereft, we can say, from the different facilities of our life, and especially in the field of education, they need lots of, like we can say, amelioration from the government side as well. The government should come forward in order to, like have a proper, like reformation. There should be kind of, they need to restructure the system as well. Especially, I want to add one thing, like there should be a proper, like training session for teacher as well. If the teacher who is standing inside in the class, if he is not well trained, so I'm sure, he cannot give proper education to the kids as well. And this kind of education or training should be on the modern tool as well, like we need to bring, the world is like a global village, remember, we are just connected with the outer world as well, so it's better we need to compete with the outer world as well, so it's better they need to bring some modern gadgets, some tools, especially the kids they are over there in Fata. So I would say, like the teachers who work on their English is an international tool as well.
How we can bridge up FATA and KPK and the rest of Pakistan at the world of facilities, infrastructure, roads and communication, and electricity, and how you can say the modern devices and the gadgets, and particularly the roads and communication infrastructure could be given there.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Like this is a foremost responsibility. I would say the burden and the obligation of the government as well to come forward in order to provide such kind of facilities to the people living in the same area as well. Like let's suppose to say, like if you talk about they are the war-stricken people. Terrorism has been a kind of big issue for people. Even I was living in Khyber Agency, I left my like my native land because of some terrorist activities. I moved forward to Peshawar because of the same thing, because of my bright future, because of my education as well. So the government should provide, all the facilities. First of all, the government should work on the peace and tranquility as well. If there is no peace, there is no progress. If there is no progress, there will be no education. So these all three things are, in my point of view, are part and parcel. So the government should work on the same thing as well,
What
to
are the four most necessary steps that to be taken in this regard to bring peace and prosperity and modernity as well?
yeah, the most important thing, we have, poverty in the same area, people are,
Poverty
facing
driven.
loss. Yeah. People are living in a such, plight state, hand to mouth condition is there. So the government should provide some, kind of, resources for livelihood as well. And apart from all these things, the government should work, on education. And in my point of view, education is the most important thing. For example, it will lead towards different directions. It will lead to, for example, a better livelihood, a better future as well, a good fortune as well. So the government, and even, for example, the guys, they are having some negative perception. They are fighting against the government. I would call them like militants. And so even if we provide them some chances, for a better life as well, and this is, the government can do it, and the government can do how it's possible through education. And they will have education, they will have facilities. So of course they will just lead towards a proper modernism, and they will have their prosperous life.
If we talk about the Fatah's history, in the era of Britons, they have been given, you can say, internally independence, and they could run their jirgas, they could run their educational and traditional driven, because Britons were of the view that we can't eradicate the tribal instinct from their minds, and but the mindsets are already present there. That's why they given them the license to lead their life at that individual space. But with the passage of time, the Indo-Pak and the subcontinent got independence, and the transfer of the Britain's came, and later the Fatah's people started living there. They were basically the Muslims and the Pathans and the conventional and conservative ones.
Yeah, sure.
You can say no nation over the planet Earth can't stay away from what the modern effects are coming on, what
Yeah.
the modernization and globalization, they are to be by one way or the other way go under spell of the modernity. But when we talk the present scenario, the Fatahs, the tribal ones, and those who were considered to be the poverty-stricken, but they have no enlightenment, they have no somewhat educational modes
Yeah, of
changed,
course.
and they have been now made the part of the KPK. It means they are now up to that mark of excellence, that their mentalities, their approaches, their access to the main areas and the rest of the Pakistan, they are connected well. Here I would like to put a question, a very core question: how private sector and public sector, mean government sector, could go side by side to start education there. Private sector, if goes there, they will make entrepreneurship and they will start the education in a modernized way, because they are to outshine the tradition, and they are to replace the modernity there. But the main question is rising there: will the Fatians or the Fatahs people, after getting being associated with the present government or ongoing political changes or the aftermath of the present government, will there be somewhat acceptance in the Fatah's people that schools, private schools could be opened, English mediums source of instruction could be implemented there. Is there somewhat more work to be made, firstly to educate them at home, at some refresher courses area, at some centers where what modern mind and what modern changes are coming on, first to take them into confidence and ask them that you are to pace up with the rest of the world. That's why we gonna start there the private sector and the modern education and the English medium like Oxford and Cambridge and Harvard's kind of uh, you can say syllabuses could be introduced there. Is there scope
Yeah,
to accept these all changes,
yeah,
and
of course, like
jump could be there?
yeah, yeah, of course, really good question. Like for example, we cannot ignore, like the role of like private sectors, especially in the field of education. Yeah, there are lots of educational bodies. I'm talking about the private sectors. They are just doing a marvelous and stupendous job in the field of education. Like
Sure.
of course, yeah, their syllabi is totally different from the government one, and the inclination and the propensity of most of the kids, especially there is kind of impetus force from the parent side as well, that why not to give, like, or facilitate my kids, with a modern education, because we are the norm of modern era as well. So we are living in the same modern age as well. So because we have to compete the world, so private sectors are doing a marvelous job. Like they have their Cambridge and Oxford syllabus as well. So they are doing a great job as well. But apart from all these things, like uh, there should be a proper, like a kind of structure for both. We can say like
Infrastructure,
yeah,
right.
infrastructure for both for private and public school as well. The reason is that, for example, if you have the instructors but material is not very good, so again there is a big issue. And apart from all these things, if the instructors are well trained and you have material in hand, is very, like
Sophisticated
yeah,
one and
yeah,
the latest
sophisticated
one.
and the latest one. So of course, it can serve the purpose. There are well known, for example, we can say like private sectors in Peshawar and in Khyber Regency right now. Like I would mention one college, Freedom Model School in college. Like they have like a very good potential in order to produce good caliber for the market. Most of the students right now, they are getting their MBBS degrees, and they are getting their engineering degrees from Peshawar University and from a medical college as well. So like this is a way out in order to facilitate the like the kids. So but one thing, like most of the people actually, if we go back to 2006 to 2000, from 2006 to or 2008 to 2012 and 14, like this, the area, for example, the Khyber Regency, actually there were some militant forces, like they actually forced the people, and there was a kind of like people had to like, for example, move, and there was a kind of exodus. It was a migration from the native land as well, and there was no proper education. When I go back, when I meet different people, like sitting idly on, like in the hujras, like so I just talk to them, why don't you go to school right now? So there is no proper schooling right now, because each and everything was demolished, annihilated by the militant groups. In the government school I'm talking about, there was a proper, like complete, like we say, it's a blockage over there, and militant used to stop the people, the kids, like they used to beat them. That
Islamic militants
yeah,
or
Islamic,
tribal
yeah, no, it's
militants? Because
Islamic.
there is difference between
No, it's
armed
no.
militants and Islamic militants and the tribal militants.
No, actually, I'm talking about Islamic militants.
Right.
Actually, so there was a kind of skirmish between, like the common people and Islamic militants, and later on, like the government decided to subdue the same thing, but it took lots of time, and I saw lots of people, they were wandering in Peshawar, and most of the young generation, they were not getting education properly, and they were working as a mechanic in different mechanic stores as well. So that was very alarming. So right now, though each and everything is fine in the same
So,
area.
Muhammad Arif, what you think? What are the apprehensions and reservations, and somewhat you can say fears present in the tribal society or the Fatah's areas, or that are now apparently legally and socially, rather legally and what we will say, legally and politically they are associated, but socially they are still disintegrated until any part of the land or the part of the world is not socially integrated, can't be integrated at education and political and economic, because when education will come, then economic circle will go there.
Yeah, of
When
course.
economic circle will go there, then the you can say authoritarian kind of people will rise there, and somewhat they would have influence on the rest of the people, those who are still present in the barbarian or the brutal kind of acts that could come from there. But how the steps could be taken to get them into confidence, or to take them into confidence that education is the core issue, and education is the very thing. Until education would not be there, or schooling, and schooling would not be there on the modern grounds, we would not be able to get them registered, or to make them able. They are registered with the Pakistan and the KPK, but how their social integration could be made, and what the internal you can say mobilizer could be workable there.
Answer, I told you before, the people over there, they suffer a lot because of the same militant groups over there, like they lost their precious stuff as well, their assets,
Right.
They were forced to move to another area. So, even, let me tell you one thing about this one, like most of the innocent people, died in the same skirmish from both sides as well, Like when you have no money, let's suppose to say, so how it's possible to buy food stuff. Remember one thing, if you are living hand to mouth, so how it's possible that you will buy books for your kids, and how to, like to send them to a proper schooling, to a college, to university as well. So their houses were annihilated, were demolished by the militants group, and they were forced to live.
Do you think if government visits there and takes some of the rich sections of the circle, or the circuit there, if government visits there and takes some of the chiefs into confidence that government will sponsor them, and they should take start at the schooling, and teachers payment could be made from the government or the state pocket, and even private entrepreneurship could be taken start there. Such kind of steps could be taken, and the people will be taken into confidence easily, or would have to work on parents first and then on the students, because somewhere in some areas of the land we are to first train the parents, then we can train and educate the teachers, rather students.
Of course, I would like to
And
add
teachers,
one.
well, yes.
Yeah. I would like to add one thing. So justice delayed means justice denied.
Right.
Like
Rightfully said.
Yeah. So spending 7-8 years, and I would say 10 years in isolation, there was no one to ask. From the same poor people, like, what the hell is going on in your area? You lost your precious life there. You lost your precious asset. There is nothing right now in your pocket, not to buy food, and so yeah, I would add something, like the government has done the same process. The government has its own connection with the people over there. I would say like the Maliks, and I would say the Khan and the rich people over there. So the government is doing the same thing, but it took, like very long time, like people are still in the trauma, they like strict in a kind of, like a tragedy. They cannot forget the people they lost in the same skirmish with the government, or skirmish with the people. I'm talking about the militants. So still, like even recently I went there and I saw some people, they were they were clamoring against the government, like, you see my house has been demolished. There is no place to live in right now. So
Right.
what to do right now? There is no money how to buy food for myself. There is no electricity here. You can see kids are getting education right now in a tents right now. There is no proper, structure.
Infrastructure
Yeah,
made,
infrastructure. There is no proper building for, 10 years have passed, but still there is no proper, we can say the infrastructure and schema from the government as well. I do accept one thing. For example, from the private sectors, there were different NGOs. They have their access to the different area as well, even to the Tira Valley. They have their access to the Tira Valley as well. So actually, they established their good communication with the different people as well, and they provided, food stuff. They provided clothing, some shelters to some extent. But overall, it will take some time. But still, people are not really
You can
happy.
say, as you are talking about the traumas, they are still the victim of the terrorist acts, and somewhat the people coming of the bulldozed actions. And trauma, you can say the Kashmiris faced when the earthquake happened there. And in the same way, you can say the Afghanis faced the trauma when they were fighting against the Russia at first 6 months. In the same way, as IDPs mean internally displaced people, they have been, and they have been under attack, and their houses and homes and their valleys and their somewhat the infrastructure they had for how to stand for their tribal setup and organization, they have been overtaken. So you can say when some tribe is under attack and their ego can't be, you can say, balanced for next 50 years, the right way is to make investment there and take the people into confidence. Seniors, you can say tribes, chief of the tribes can't be educated, but their children that are the future of any nation,
Yeah, of
they
course, you're
could
right.
be educated. There could be starting of some schools. Government should visit there, and at least they should start primary schools and middle schools as well as up till high. Later on, you can say roads and communication, if it is made well, they could be transported. They could be given the facility of pick and drop, and could be matched with the main streamline, main areas where from they could get education, because the education is the only tool that makes you to you can say groom in life and to get accustomed with the rest of the people. So this was the all talk of Fatah's. You are the
Yeah.
one of the figure.
Yeah.
If you yourself are ready to change yourself, you have the resources, you have the wealth. Uh, you can move to central areas. You can move to cities and urban areas. The way you stepped out of the bracketed area where you have been might embarrassed, and you have been facing some sickening moments in your life, but you have been at the level of bravery and boldness and somewhat morality and somewhat courage to stand against the odds that were present there. It means when a person is ready enough to fight against the trials and tribulations and the pressures of the society, and if there is no scope and no, you can say, space is there, you can get yourself shifted, because every person, every entity of area or the country, if you would have not, you can say, moved on your own grounds, you might have not been the boldest character, and you would not have groomed yourself. No, this is you can say there are two ways. One is revolution, and other one is evolution. Revolution is that if government goes there and start some basing of the units of education, and then you know very well that education is a lifetime project, and it's a lifetime generation making process, and it takes start today. If the first brick or the stone is based and foundational stone is based for a school, after 25 or 30 years we would be able to give a generation. Now I am to shift to your masters. How you got shifted from Fata to the mainstream, that's all I've been shared. How you get all of your education at the post graduation, and how you have been with your professors.
Yeah, actually, first of all, actually, my inclination and propensity was towards some international relations subjects and political science as well. But one day, by chance, I met one of my father's friends, and he told me that, how's your English? I told him, yeah, it's okay. I have interest in English as well. I can move on. I can go ahead. So he told me, let's go and have your English literature. It's a very good subject. So it's better you need to work on some. It's a very big scopic as well. So then
Your father also based to education.
actually he was a government teacher.
Right.
Yeah, he was a teacher.
Yeah,
actually.
it means the educational motivation was present at home.
Yeah, of course, he was the one, he was the, we can say, like, I would say, like, he was a pivotal figure in my life as well,
Right.
like, he was the beacon in my life as well, because he showed each and everything to me. So after getting education, so I tried my
Then
best.
he recommended you that you must join literature.
Yeah, he told me it's better, you need to go for same English literature as well. So I started my literature in Bishar University, Teachers were outstanding, they were PhD doctors. If I talk about the pros, Nasir Jamal Khatak, if I talk about, different teachers, so they were outstanding, like their accent, their pronunciation, I would say they were a savant in a way, the way they possess knowledge, so outstanding. So I learned lots of things, but here I would like to mention one thing, like one of my teachers, Muhibullah, if he's listening to this clip, so I always pray for your longevity as well, sir, because I learned lots of things from Professor Muhibullah. He was very well versed and well conversed in grammar as well, and especially in writing, he shared lots of stuff with me. I learned lots of things from.
He has been mentor to you.
Yeah, of course, and he was such a great teacher. He was such a great teacher.
Who is the else one who contributed a lot to build you up?
Yeah. Actually, I would say, like father, of course, he guided me. He was the only soul in my life. He
Right.
guided me a lot. And apart from my teachers in my at my matric level, in schools, so there were lots of teachers because I have very close affinity with my teacher as well. And then in university, I would definitely say Nasir Jamal Khatak, the prose teacher. He was very outstanding as well, of always sharing his personal, like views about prose and his personal life as well. In a way, educating the people actually, And what about by Muhibullah, Professor Muhibullah? He was, like I would rank him, like
At
he
the
was,
top.
yeah, he was standing head and shoulder above all the professors, because he was such a great teacher. So after,
So what would you tell about, because this is the forum of, you can say, nation, and your voice is going across the world. Globally, you are being heard.
Yeah.
What would you tell about Peshawar and Peshawar University and some of the famous products that the Peshawar University would have produced?
yeah,
Ever.
like of course it's such a, like it's a very primitive and a very old university as well, like it produced lots of talents for the market as well,
Right.
And we have lots of people serving like at government level as well, at private sectors, so we can find lots of calibers produced by the same university. There are poets, there are writers, there are, we can say, bureaucrats as well, from the same university. So I always I would recommend different students, they are living even in Islamabad or living somewhere else in the same state, in Pakistan.
Right.
So if you have a chance, so please go over there and visit Peshawar University. You will find lots of interesting things over there. You will meet different professors, and definitely they would guide you about different things, remember. And if you have a chance to get admissions, so go for the same thing, like
How many the faculties will be there?
there are lots of faculties, I would say there are 25, like 30 and 35, 36 languages, let's suppose, departments are there in the same university. Even you can go for Pashto literature as well, you can go for the Persian literature, you can go for Arabic literature,
Diversity and variety is
yeah, they
at
are,
the way.
yeah, and professors, of course, they have like variety of tests over there, like you can find, like there are poets, there are writers, there are scholars, PhD doctors, they have
Serving across the board.
yeah, serving across the board,
So what would you tell about Peshawar as a